one day, an hour later, whenever, I can come back to the person and try to talk about it.
Okay.
Going through this and what do you feel?
So what I'm hearing as the foundation for you is to do no harm. No matter what, even if you really don't like what the other person is doing, to do no harm. And then try again at some other point to create connection. And I'm hearing in some ways from all of you something about the foundation being connection. Either connection to life, connection to another person, connection to your own values, connection to your hope, but some sense of connectedness instead of separation. Yeah. You want to say something?
I can say that I think the important part of nonviolence.
I can't hear you.
I think that the important part of nonviolence for me is having a belief that in every person there's the possibility to connect to humanity, the possibility to connect and identify people and be empathetic in everybody, and know that.
So I'm hearing in what you're saying kind of like an article of faith, that somewhere in each human being, no matter what they have done, there is a core humanity. And that if we can, even if the person never shows it, if we can connect to it and reach for it inside ourselves, then our stance is a nonviolent stance. I'm reading a book now that I'm finding it really impressive. It's called A Human Being Died That Night. Any of you have heard of it? It's a South African woman who was part of the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. You all have heard about that, the Truth and Reconciliation Committee? Yeah. She's doing a series of interviews with one of the masterminds of apartheid murder, killing, I don't know other words, and she is describing in great detail her inner process of encountering this man who has done so much harm, and how she is trying to piece together what it means to be that human being who has done all these things. And something that I found very moving is how she puts it together that no matter what he has done, there is something in him that is trying to work on making him still be part of the human fabric. And it is something along those lines. I'm still reading it, so I don't know who done it yet. But something along the lines of even when you have done terrible things, there is inside an attempt to recreate a sense of humanity and dignity of yourself. And it is that we can connect with. Now, the process of nonviolent communication that I am teaching translates this particular article of faith into a very simple assumption, which is that anything that any human being ever tries to do is an attempt to meet needs. It is radically simple, this proposition. It is not provable. Assumptions never are provable. No matter how much everybody tries to be convinced that their own assumptions are actually facts, assumptions are not provable. And yet I find it amazing how the world changes when I live from that assumption. Now, to say that somebody who has killed thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, now this is very different because the person that she's talking with in those interviews personally killed thousands of people, it appears, which is different from sending other people to kill, which is much more removed. He himself was involved in the killing of hundreds or thousands of people. What does it mean to say that this person has the same needs that I have? There's something about it that looks completely incomprehensible. How can I resolve that puzzle? What do I mean? Do you have any ideas what I mean to say that this person is acting on the very same needs that I'm acting? And I believe that. And I would not go and kill anybody. So how can it be? What does that mean to you? Yeah.
They both need security.
Okay, so we both have a need for security. What other needs might we have? Yeah.
Respect and dignity.
Yeah, so we both have needs for respect and dignity. I want to push you a little further. In the moment of going out there and killing all these people, what might be the needs that are leading someone to do this? For me, if I can't relate to that, if I can't find it, then he is still other. And if he's other, then I am recreating a violent world. So what could be the needs that somebody might be acting on in the moment of going out there and killing people, dragging them, torturing them? What could be the needs? The basic human needs that this person is acting on. Anybody has any clue? Why did he do it? What was he hoping for? Yeah?
I'm guessing somewhere along the lines of self-validation.
Self-validation meaning, I'm not sure I know what you mean by that term.
Connected probably to some fear that a threat to his own life. Or
so maybe you're saying it's like protecting his own life. Or protecting his...
It gets tricky like that, but these are, I think, very subtle things that then amounts, combined with fear to a stronger need and a proactive.
So you're recognizing in him fear. Fear is more of a feeling than a need. For me, the belief that people do everything as an attempt to meet needs means, in a very rigorous spiritual way for me, that they're trying to create something in doing whatever it is. They're not just trying to destroy, even if they're destroying. They're destroying in the name of something they're trying to create. What might be the dream that is motivating him to do something that is so abhorrent to all of us, and ultimately to him too, as is becoming slowly clear through reading the book? Still, there's something extraordinarily powerful in the name of which he's doing it. Yes? Okay, so that could be it. That is moving it away from kind of like analyzing him as, oh, he's acting out of fear, which still keeps him separate, to, yeah, he wants some kind of a peaceful, stable society, which we all want. If we separate the dream from the actions, then it's easier to relate to people no matter how different their choices and strategies are. Yeah?
When I had worked with Alex said it, I think that these people are driven by the need for order. They want to create order out of chaos.
Okay, so desire to create order out of chaos. If I take out the out of chaos, just talk about a need for order. I have not met a single human being who doesn't have some version of a desire to have order, to be able to make sense of what is around you. I'm very careful with words because words is my practice of nonviolence, if I say driven by, it's a subtle way of making him other still. Driven by, it's something like it's bigger than him, and then therefore he kind of like disappears in it. I'm not even sure that you meant it that way. It's that the words carry so much meaning. In other words, here's how I test it. If I say to someone, if I check with someone, are you driven by, they will likely have a slightly defensive reaction. But if I ask them, are you looking towards, do you want, there's not likely to be reactivity there. So if I'm wanting to establish an empathic connection with someone, I want to present my guesses as to what might be going on for them that is so hard for me to comprehend. I might want to present it in a way that they could recognize themselves in. Even if they were to disagree, they would still recognize themselves as human in how I try to make sense of them. Any other needs that you could imagine this person having? So we talked about a peaceful, stable society. We talked about order. We talked about maybe some sense of self and recognition of self, something like that, which again, we all have. Did you have another one?
Possibly, I was just gonna say, I know obviously human is indivisible, and maybe in an apartheid society, he felt like hurting that group would make him belong more.
So a sense of belonging with one's peers or one's reference group or something like this. Now, I am aligned with you. I believe that is going on. Of course, we don't know. We can only make guesses until we actually check with him and he affirms it. But in the name of belonging, a lot of things have happened. And it is a powerful need that we all have. And for most of human history, the strongest avenue to belonging that we have been given is making ourselves different from some other group so that we can belong to this group. It is a very, very, very tricky path to find a way of belonging that is also completely inclusive. Yeah.
There's also, so to further that, to belong, now he then stepped up into a position to really secure himself by taking more of a leadership position. I think so.
Okay, so a sense of security in being accepted and belonging in the group.
Exactly, and then what usually happens if you enter into a mass killing or in a genocidal setting, once people have killed, they often get into a mindset of trying to make it better, and by killing again, there's the need for being good or not as bad is met for a short amount of time until the guilt comes in again, and so it perpetuates. It's something that often shows up in mass killing, where people actually kill to feel better about themselves. I don't know how that exactly works, but
I'm worried that is a little bit analytic, and again from the outside. I want to help me recover the full sense of the humanity of this person. How can a human being, essentially similar to me, be doing something that is so incomprehensible to me? I want to bridge that gap. And for me, that is one of the deepest tenets of nonviolence, is to bridge the gap inside of me, between me and someone whose actions are so foreign to me. Now, I started with a very extreme example. I'll get to in a second. This also applies in the most personal of relationships, because often our biggest enemies are the people closest to us. Internally, how we make them. You do one false move and suddenly I scream and yell at you, and you'll become my worst enemy. Tomorrow I will love you again, but right now I treat you like you don't care about me, like I don't matter to you. Yeah.
Oh, it seems like you're operating under this understanding or false experience of disconnection. So you're saying that one of the foundations of nonviolence is to connect. If people are experiencing this sense of isolation, where they feel disconnected and they feel as though someone else may be other from them, they're in a place where they can't understand the possibility of inherent connection with other people. So it's trying to enforce this sense of isolation or independence because he feels connected with only some kind of people. And so it seems to me like this is a fundamental sense of disconnection.
So what you're saying is that you're imagining that his fundamental experience of living in the world is one of alienation, separation. And so then would you be saying that the killing is kind of like a twisted attempt to create a sense of connection inside of him?
Yeah, in many ways, this is when you see violence, a lot of times it comes from people that have reasons to feel isolated. When we talk about the restored justice, why do we need to restore these human beings? Because at some point in their life, they became disconnected. And that's something that, as a community, we need to support. Because I can't imagine a life that could be more sorrowful than not understanding how connected we are in the community that we inherently have.
So what you're saying is that in your thinking and you're looking at acts of violence, you're inferring that it is a state of disconnectedness that makes it possible to do violence. And so I want to kind of like take a leap on what you're saying and say this much. I don't believe that people who have their fundamental needs met will resort to violence. Violence is always going to be a response to a state of unmet needs. Unmet needs. If I am happy and all my needs are met, there's no reason that would be for me to act violently towards anyone. So I'll get to you in a second. To me, there's kind of like a striking, radical implication to this, which is if you want to reduce violence in the world, work towards getting people's needs met. Because if people's needs are going to be met, they're not going to do violence. It's a very radical and simple vision. Yeah. So what do I see as basic human needs? We'll find out. What are some of the needs that you consider basic to being human? Do you have any? We've named some. Okay, so so far we've named respect, dignity, community, connection, belonging, acceptance. Any others? What others? Yes. Autonomy. A very big, intense human need. It is one of the most striking things that if you are told what you should do, most humans that I've ever encountered, the first thing they want to do is not do it, regardless of whether you see value in it or not. The very fact that somebody else tells you you should do it, you instantly don't want to. You recognize this? Oddly enough, to me, the biggest manifestation of autonomy is to be able to make my own choices, whether or not somebody tells me what to do. To me, it's one of the biggest spiritual challenges, to stay connected to my sense of choicefulness when somebody else is putting demands on me. because it's very easy to confuse rebellion with choice. Rebellion is still, I'm not talking about rebellion in the political sense. I want to leave that aside for a moment. I'm talking about just kind of, you know what I mean by rebellion. It's like, no, I won't. That feels very powerful, and it feels like choice. And it's still operating on the terms set by the other person. It's the flip side coin of submission, but it is not in and of itself choice. You wanted to add something?
I was just going to add that I think a major source of violence, probably teenagers especially, is kind of the dialectic between the need for community and the need for autonomy. The need to connect with people, but at the same time be able to make your own decisions.
Yes. I like what you're saying very much. Some kind of a tension between community, connection, and autonomy. I don't see it as there being an inherent conflict between them at all. It's that we've created for several thousand years a society that creates oppositions between needs. So that in order to be part of, you have to give up on yourself. And if you don't want to give up on yourself, you have to not be part of. And there's this tension back and forth, and it's extremely challenging to find a way to be in full integrity. There goes another human need, integrity. To be in full integrity and maintain fully authentic connections. It takes a lot of skill that we don't usually get. So again, you know, like, okay, I will be honest, I will lose your friendship. So I have to choose between friendship and honesty. But there's a way of being honest that nurtures friendship. We just don't learn how to do it. Are you getting some of your answers about what are basic human needs? What other needs do people recognize? What other needs do you see that you have, that other humans have? Yeah.
Love and affection.
Love and affection? Yeah. Support. There is a big loss that especially our modern Western culture has about really not feeling what it means to be interdependent. There is such an idea that you're supposed to be self-sufficient and meet your needs on your own. And we've created a very massive structure to make it look like that's possible. And that massive structure is called capitalism. It makes it look like bread grows in supermarkets. And because it grows in supermarkets, it doesn't take other human beings for you to get your bread. It just takes money. So money, one of the functions that money serves in our modern culture is to mask our connectedness to other people. But the reality is that we are constantly in need of other people in order to get any of our needs met. Michael?
I'm back a step with you because we were talking about the kind of honesty that does not alienate other people. That's last semester when we talked about integrated power. That's exactly what that is. It's in an extreme case where there's threat and the other person is assuming alienation, and through honesty we connect with that person.
Yes. It's and I would say that the more vulnerable your honesty is, the more chances it has of reaching the heart of the other person. There is honesty that alienates. If I start telling you what I think about how bad and wrong and awful you are, it is not going to create connection. But if I tell you with great vulnerability what is going on in my heart in response to your actions, it has a much better chance of opening your heart back to me. And the tragedy is that when we are afraid, we protect our vulnerability. When we protect our vulnerability and mask our fear, we look aggressive. Yeah.
Just to move off of integrated power to just talking about and needs, I think oftentimes we don't understand that what justice is conflicting with everyone can have their needs met. And in the form of integrated power, it seems you're moving away, it's a choice to move away from the power struggle and competition and want to help people come to an understanding where both our needs can be met, and we can come into more competition than power struggle.
Yeah, so you're wanting to create a movement from conflict to the belief that we can both get our needs met. And there's a whole process of nonviolent communication, which I can't get into a lot of the details. We get to have only 1 hour with each other. The key to that process is making a distinction between strategies and needs. And strategies are all the actions that we take to meet our needs, all the people that we line up and all of that, but the needs underneath that is what is not in conflict. So when we work with 2 individuals or 2 groups or anything like that, our goal is to get people to see each other's needs as continuous with their own, not as opposed to their own. And when you get to a place where both parties can hold all the needs, not just their own, but I hold your needs in mine, you hold my needs in yours, and we both do it, there is an amazing creativity that gets unleashed about finding strategies that both of us can work with. My favorite example of that is a few colleagues of mine a few years ago went to Pakistan and into one of the refugee camps where people from Afghanistan were, of various different tribes and subgroups, and did a 3-day training there. The last day of the training was Friday, which in Muslim society is the sacred day. And as a few hours before the end of the training, the people started getting really excited about this and very grateful for the training. And so some people said, why don't you come with us to the mosque? And then a few other people said, how can you say that? How disrespectful are you? They're Americans. They can't get into the mosque. And within seconds, they were at each other's throats after 3 days of training. And so my colleagues started really guiding them through dialogue.